Hey ho and howdy everybody. It's me, Phoebe. Your girl was given some early access to the player core and the GM core courtesy of Paizo so that I can show all of you guys all that's in store for the new remaster project. This isn't going to be a full comprehensive list of all the changes, just the stuff that my community and other people have talked about being maybe excited or hesitant about the remaster. But I do encourage all of you guys to pick up the book yourselves when it drops officially November 15th. Subscribers should already be getting their PDFs right now, I believe. It ships today. Yeah, let's just jump right into it all. Alright, so first I wanted to talk about the new layout. I super love the new green colors over the red ones that were in the first printing of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And no, it's not because I'm biased because I'm a goblin or anything, it just feels a lot more of a chill color and a lot easier to read, more welcoming, just compared to like the red stabby color from beforehand. And I also really love what they've decided to do by making the headings and sidebars more clearer with the different colors. It just makes it easier to know what the meat of the stuff you're supposed to be reading and what is just descriptive text. And I super love what they did to go and have it be like the treasure vaults where the equipment is now in little boxes at the top and bottom of the pages instead of just straight down the middle of the page, messing with all the text and making it way harder to read. Whoever decided to change that, thank you. From everybody. Now that we have our first impressions out of the way, let's talk about what you're probably really here for. All the changes, the crunchy bits, all the new rules, all of that. And I think we're going to start off with all the name changes. There are so many new name changes and things that have just been renamed. Attack Opportunity is now Reactive Strike. Inspire Courage is now Courageous Anthem. Good Berry is now Cornucopia. And A Finger of Death is now Execute. And there is so many more. If I were to make an entire video just about the things that have been changed, the names, it'd probably be like an hour and a half long. And there's no way in hell I'm going to be getting all of them right for the next couple of months. I'm probably going to keep messing them all up for the new names and stuff like that. I'm still going to be calling it Flat-Footed instead of Off Guard. So if you mess things up yourselves, don't worry, we're all adjusting to this, and I will do my best to have the proper terms with my videos going forward. I'll do my best for you guys. Next up, I think we should be going over alignment removal and what has been replaced with called Sanctification. The grid-based alignment system that we've all either learned to love or, in my personal experience, hate, has been removed from the game entirely. But don't you worry, D&D enthusiasts, it's been replaced with a whole new system just for you called Sanctification. Now, some Ds will sanctify their clerics, champions, and other types of divine classes in the future if they make any more. Exemplar, to either be holy or unholy. Holy indicates a powerful devotion to altruism and helping others, and just fighting off undead and fiends, whereas unholy is victimizing other people, inflicting harm, and just punching angels in the nose for the fun of it. So it's pretty much just good and evil again. But don't worry, if you happen to be non-committal like a certain paladin I know, then you don't have to pick either depending on if your DD allows you to. Like, Callistria doesn't care what you are. You can be holy, unholy, unaligned. She does not care. She's busy hanging out with the Prismatic Ray. Bless. But if you're a fellow Ryomade, you have to be holy. She's not going to talk to you, not give you any spells. She's not even going to acknowledge you if you're not holy. Now, some spells, creatures, and other effects can also be holy or unholy, which just makes them more powerful against the opposite trait. Same with the good and evil from last time, it's very much the same. But some of these spells and abilities have the sanctified trait, which just allows you to add your holy and unholy to it to hurt those opposite of your sanctification, but would normally otherwise do spirit damage from what I've seen. And while we're talking about spirit damage, we should probably explain it a little. Much like the original Spirit Blast spell from the first core rulebook printing, this damage type, it hurts anything with a spirit, so spiders, dogs, humans, elementals, angels, demons, all of that. It'll just hurt those, but it can't hurt anything without a spirit or a soul, like constructs or the dirt. And pretty much every spell that used to just do alignment damage now just does spirit damage instead, so It just makes it way easier to hurt things with your cool divine spells, but still give you the opportunity through sanctification to hurt things even more if you happen to be opposite of it. So you can still attack that giant spider instead of having your GM have to look you in the eyes and say, hey, this spider has no alignment, it's neutral because it's just hungry, and you waste your entire turn. Next up for our agenda is the class changes. The Bard and Rogue are going to be coming first because they have very similar changes. They both now have full martial weapon proficiency baked into their class, which is great. The Warrior Moose Bard and the Ruffian Rogue racket have been altered slightly to give them a different type of buff rather than just giving them cool, somewhat martial weapon abilities related. Like the Warrior Bard gets to extend its casting of Courageous Anthem, which is just Inspire Courage, by hitting enemies in the face with a strike instead of having to sustain it normally. So it just frees up some actions and also just it gets you some damage in, which is great. And the Ruffian can now sneak attack with any type of weapon, with some slight stipulation. If it's a simple weapon, it can't have a damage die higher than a D8. Or if it's a advanced or martial weapon, it can't have a die of damage higher than a d6. So it is still limiting in a way, and it looks like Long Spear is still going to be the premier Ruffian Rogue racket weapon as far as simple weapons go. But if you can somehow get advanced weapon proficiency, Chainsword will be really cool. Next up, we have our Fighter and Ranger. Now, these guys have had the least amount of changes compared to every other class. They are pretty good as is out of the box and just have a little more streamlined quality of life things to them. Like the Fighter, it now loses the open trait on all of the feats that had open because nobody remembered to use it in the first place, so it might as well just not exist anymore, and it doesn't. As well as having one or two new feats that are really, really cool in my opinion, like Lightning Swap allows them to change their entire combat setup as a single action. Like you have a sword and shield out, you put it away and pull out 2 axes as an action. And then as another action, if you do Lightning Swap again, you just put those axes away, pull out a bow, you're ready to go. That's really cool. It's just really thematic to the whole fighters thing of being an entire toolbox of weapons that they have on their back that they can use at any point in time to fight whatever they need to fight. And the Ranger had a few quality of life changes, like the new Nature's Edge and Wild Stride, now being called Unimpeded Journey, work on any type of difficult terrain instead of just natural difficult terrain only. So it's just, I'm pretty sure most people ruled it like that anyway, so it's another one of those changes where it's like, it's core now, but you probably already did it that way anyways. Now Druid. Druid has had a lot of renaming changes to it, like I said before, and a lot of them are really cool. Like Good Gary Cornucopia is really nice. It's just, I like it. It's cute. And my favorite, though, is the Druidic language being changed to Wild Song. It just sounds so much cooler and really befits the weird ASMR sleeping video that comes out of your mouth when you talk, with like the sounds of leaves rustling in the wind and bird songs and stuff that like you talk with. And they do have a lot of new feats. A lot of them are mostly just feats for other types of Druid orders that didn't have a lot of support earlier. Like Storm Druid gets like 4 new feats to them, and that's really nice because they had like 1, I think, in the original release. Next up is the Cleric, and it has by far the most new toys and like changes made to them out of every class. Like, of course, the new Sanctification completely replaces their alignment type of stuff they used to have, but even more than that, War Priests are eating so good right now. They get Master Proficiency in their DD Sword weapon at level 19, which, yes, it's late, but they're still a 10th level caster with full casting at that point. They're the only class that gets to do that at the end of the day, so who cares? Especially because they get some sick, nasty new feats, like Restorative Strike is one of my new favorite feats that they can do. It just allows you to cast a one-action heal on yourself, hit an enemy in the dome, and then if an ally is adjacent to that enemy, they also get healed for the amount that you healed yourself. And that's just action economy saving, spell slot saving, supporting your friends, and hurting an enemy all with 2 actions. It's such a good spell. Not spell, feat, sorry. They even have a different feat. It's a reaction. The Cleric gets a lot of reactions in this remake, and I really enjoy that because they had like none beforehand. Divine Rebuttal is a reaction that allows you to hit an enemy if it's trying to make your friends make a saving throw, and if you hit that enemy and do damage, your friends get a bonus to their saving throw against whatever it's throwing out, and if it's a DD's favorite weapon that you're hitting them with, you get a bonus to your attack roll to it, so there's a baby heroism on top of all of that. Great. It's just a good, you're the supportive, wappy character that War Priest was always supposed to be, but had some awkward little like baby steps that had to get there. And there's 13 other feats that I didn't talk about yet. That's how many changes they've had and how many new things they get. You definitely need to check out this book when you can to get all of them in, because they're all so cool. And not all of them are just for War Priest. The Cloister get some cool stuff too. But we're all here for War Priest right now, aren't we? Next up, we have the Witch. The Witch has had their entirety of their patrons revamped to be now bursting with flavor, and also have some really nice quality of life changes made to their familiars and also their feats. Each new patron now gives your familiar a new ability that does not count against its abilities it can have per day. Like the new Knight patron, the Starless Shadow, their familiar fears enemies, gets them with that frightened condition if they're concealed to them whenever you cast or sustain a hex, which their hex cantrip that the patron gives you makes a target have everyone be concealed to them, which just synergizes really well. There's a lot of good synergy built into the Witch now with all their stuff. On top of all that, there's new cool feats that directly interact with your familiar to make it do cool attacks, or even channel your patron's wrath through it and have them interact through the familiar to the world. Like Spirit Familiar is a really cool new activity that your familiar can do. So once per 10 minutes, you can have it go Ghost Danny Phantom style and shoot out at an enemy and do a bunch of spirit damage to them. And after it flies off to one of your friends and heals them for half the damage dealt. So you spend one action to have your familiar do a bunch of damage and heal an ally. It's so good, so efficient, and you can still cast a spell with the other two actions on your turn. So it's just really good. And lastly, for all the classes, we have the Wizard, who has had all of its subclasses changed around after the removal of all of the spell schools. Now, these have a more learned feel to them, down to the subclasses even being called curriculums now. And these curricula, which I just found out is the plural for curriculum today, you're welcome, I've taught you something new, work very much the same as the old spell schools did, giving you some free spells to add to your spell book, as well as some cool focus spells. Yes, it is a bit less freeing compared to the original spell casting from the wizard subclasses, but it has a little part where it stipulates that you're GM and you can always talk about adding more spells that you feel is thematic to the curriculum itself, so there's that. Next up, we're being talking about some of the spicy changes to some of the skill actions that have had a lot of issues ever since release, and we're starting off with Recall Knowledge. Now, Recall Knowledge has been changed to be pretty much exactly what every single person's house rule for it already was. You pick a skill and ask a question for your GM, and the GM then determines the DC and rolls a secret check using that skill you suggested. And if it's a success, they answer the question truthfully. And if it's a critical success, they answer it truthfully and then give you a follow-up questions answer maybe, or like some extra context. And the crit fail still goes and makes you give out false information if you want to, but then again, why wouldn't you want to? It's kind of hilarious. And don't you worry, Disarm fans, Paizo has got you covered. You fools. You crazy fools. You asked for a buff to this, and they answered. And once again, giving it a popular house rule to the core rules, every time you get a success on a disarm, not only do you get a +1 bonus to your athletics checks to disarm them again, they get a -2 penalty to their attack rolls, anything that involves a good grip on their weapon. Not until the start of the next turn, but until they decide to use an interact action to regrip their weapon. Yeah, it's really good now. You did it, you won. Which means now I'm going to use it on you. I get to disarm you now, and then you get reactive striked by me. And your GM is going to do it to you too, so I hope you're happy, dummy. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me, hey Phoebe, how did the armor proficiency and weapon proficiencies get changed at all if they did? And you're in luck, they did. They now scale very slightly. And very late. You become expert in the armors at level 13 and expert in the weapons at level 11. It's still a little lackluster, but hey, you've got something now, right? And the last thing I want to talk about today is going to be all these spell changes. The focus spells have had a lot of quality of life change to them. Like anytime you get a new focus spell, you get an additional focus point, which is a lot easier than trying to figure out which one gives you a focus point, which one doesn't. And it still has a maximum of 3 focus points, though, so don't get ahead of yourself. I think you get 17 of them, which, even though I think would be cool, kind of doesn't really matter anymore because of how they changed the refocus action to be. The refocus action now just regains a spell focus point every 10 minutes. So you can just spend a half hour to refocus all of your focus points if you want to. Just take a little nap and get some focus back. And they've also changed the little feats that used to give you more focus spells at like level 12 and 18, I believe, to just be, hey, you refocus all of them at once at level 12 with that feat. Now, as far as the rest of the spells go, most of them just had new name changes, like Finger Death to Execute, Magic Weapon to Runic Weapon, or just had alignment damage change to Spirit damage with the Divine Lance. So a lot of that's pretty much the same. but there has been a few new buffs I think we should really talk about, namely to Bless and Bane. Those spells used to be pretty lackluster with a small range and taking forever to actually expand. Not anymore. Bless now starts at a 15-foot radius around you and extends by 10 feet every time you sustain it. Whereas Bane starts at 10 feet and expands by 10 feet every time you sustain that one. And this is huge. No longer do you have to wait like 4 turns for your Bless or Bane to actually affect all people you want it to. You just slap it down once and you're good to go. If some things move, expand it once with a single sustain and you should be even good to go then. And I believe that's all we have time for today, really. There's even more cool new feats, spells, and abilities to discover in the new Pathfinder 2e player core and GM core that I couldn't cover here today, like all the changes to the chase rules or the crafting changes. So be sure to grab yourself a copy when they come out November 15th, or maybe go to your FLGS to get one of the cool sketch covers that are only available through them. Once again, I want to thank Paizo for giving me the opportunity to share this all with you guys. And remember to check out all my socials down below in the description. And I'll see you next time. Remember, I'll bite you.